Hi, welcome back. I'm Naren, and today we have Google Kickstart Round E happening, and I think it started at 9 a.m. IST, and it will finish around 12 noon. So it's 9:30 now, and I'm just trying to look at the four problems and see whether I can attempt at least one in the remaining 2.5 hours. So let me check the first problem, coloring game. And normally when I read the problem, I try to make the notes so that I can ignore the story of the problem and just focus on the actual problem. Here we are talking about John who will be playing games. So we have M cells. And we have M cells numbered to N from left to right. And we will initialize them all as white color. And what is the val itself? It is white color, and now present red color cells. And player on their turn they will paint a val cell red color. Okay. And the end criteria is now valid. And score is ref cells player. Okay. Okay. And then on practicing with a bot and paints as the first attempt. And this paints the first value itself from left. Okay. So this is the strategy of the bot. So it picks the leftmost valid cell and paints. Okay, John can let us John and semi-valid cell. Okay. Bot makes the first move, and then John and bot okay. Now we know that bot plays first, and then they alternate between John and bot, and John's aim is to minimize bot score, and now we need to find max score that bot can achieve. Okay, so we have read the problem. Okay, what is the input? Yeah, this is the regular format. Number of test cases. Yeah, then we have number of cells in the game. So only those two are the inputs. The output is hash test case number and what is the maximum score that bot can score. And then they have the limit of 20 seconds time limit and 1 GB memory limit that we can ignore because our first attempt will be just to have some score, some algorithm which can just solve the problem, even if it is not optimal. And we have 2 hours 19 minutes to go. Yeah, that is for 4 problems, but we will first try one. And test case, first set is between 1 and 6, and n is less, max 6. Then it is too huge, 10 power 6. Also, since n is 10 power 6, I check my table, so I can just use the int 32 for the variables. Okay, then I check the sample input, which is 31. So there are 3 cases, 1, 3, 6. Okay, let us see example itself. Okay. Yeah, for n equals 1, anyway, since bot is the first one to do, it will paint the first one, which is the valid one, and red, that is 1. Case 1 is 1. And case 2 is 3. There are 3 cells, so bot will always paint the first one. Okay. And the second move, John will, anyway, the only one valid cell left, which is the third one, so John will paint that, so that ends the game. So that is also 1. Case 2 is also 1. In a third case, there are 6. So bot starts with the first one. Then John. Okay, so the algorithm is more about how John finds the optimal way to minimize bot score. So it's more like, yeah, like it's not a good way to just pick the cell which is next to red. But again, you can't pick the cell next to that because it's not valid. So here it can pick the third. John can pick third, fourth, fifth, sixth. So John has 4 options. And okay, in the example, he picked the third one, and hence bot can only pick the fifth one. So the score is 2. Okay, so that is the. So let us. So here, that's what we have to think, how John thinks. So normally I copy some previous code and start editing it. Test case T, we will read T. So I'm writing in CPP. And for each test case, we will read N. This is just I copied from some previous rounds. And we don't need anything else here. Yeah, I'm just writing the code for taking the input and giving the output. So it displays the output properly. So we have the template, and we just need the algorithm and the code for the problem that we are working. So normally I look at a test case with a diagram and then try to think of an algorithm visually. The simplest solution, whether I don't know whether I can say a solution, but at least to play the game, is mimic bot. Since bot will pick the leftmost valid cell, John can pick the leftmost valid cell. At least for these sample cases, that will work. But I think the better solution will be, let's say here in the second move, we can pick from third to sixth cell, and instead of third, we can pick fourth one, so that second and third both will be invalid, and even fifth. So because here we are making only 2 cells invalid, second and fourth, but second is already an invalid. So if there are multiple cells, so it's better for John not to pick the leftmost valid cell, but more like the second leftmost valid cell seems a better approach than the first valid cell. Another approach maybe we can try is we can try from the rightmost with the same idea. Not the rightmost valid cell, but the second rightmost valid cell if there are 2 valid cells. But for algorithm, it may be easier. Yeah, maybe easier if you just go from left to right. So we can go from leftmost, start from leftmost and go towards the right. And we can always have a state which indicates, okay, let's say, what is the algorithm? Start from leftmost and reach right. Okay. And at each moment, what is the state we want to know is leftmost valid cell. We need this for what? To pick in its next term. And also we need to know who is the player, the move, to make the move, whether it is John or bot. So leftmost valid cell we need for the bot. So we also need second most valid cell which we want to pick for John. And also note that when we have two valid cells, since we are going from left to right, maybe we can assume that this A and B are always next to each other, so that when bot picks A, we can ignore B and go to B plus 1 and B plus 2. So this, okay, I don't know whether this is the optimum solution that should work, but at least it sounds like might be the optimum solution that John is thinking, because then we need to think about any test case that refutes this. Okay, maybe we can just start with some code to implement this. Let's say, okay, I have a bot score of 0. It's more like the current state, and also we need some, okay, we will use a vector in this case, a vector of, say, these are the cells, and for the vector, let's say 0 indicates it's a white cell and 1 indicates it's red cell. So by default everything is 0 in this vector, so everything is a white cell, which is and let's say who is the next move. As the next move, okay, let's have a bool. At first it is true because bot will make the first move. If it is false, then it is John's move. So we know whose move it is. So bot move indicates who will make the next move. Bot score is the current score of the bot, which is the answer at the end. And we should know where we are in the while going through the cells. So what is the next cell you want to look at? So we can have a for loop and go through it. So I plus 1 is the cell number as in the problem, like if it starts from 1 to n. So here maybe we can say we can convert 1 to n to 0 to n. Valid 1, first valid cell is 0 index, and next one will be valid plus 1. So we will come back for corner cases when n is 1, but in general let's say n is huge, and we know that first 0 is valid 1 and 1 is valid 2. So we can have the while loop while valid 1 is greater than 0, because we can maybe we can use so assuming it is more than 0, so there is a valid step. So till there are valid cells, we can continue the processing. So while valid 1 is more than 0, we can allow the player to play. If it is bot move, we know that valid 1 cell is valid. We make that cell red. Cells of valid 1, you set it to 1. Maybe you can, we don't need this step, I guess, if you're just moving forward, but For now we will set that to 1, so we are making it red, and also what the score is increased. And since valid 1 has become invalid, valid 2, with our assumption that it is always valid 1 plus 1, valid 2 will also be invalid. So we will have valid 1 incremented by 2, valid 2 will be valid 1 plus 1. What move will be false. Yeah, here we need to check the boundaries before assigning valid 1 and valid 2. Okay, I will come back to that. So we have the exit criteria, valid 1 is greater than 0, and we have for the bot move, so where it will reset, it will make valid 1 cell as invalid, increment the bot's score, then change the valid 1 and valid 2, and indicate that it is John's move. So maybe we can do if valid 1 maximum value is n minus 1, so if it is greater than or equal to n, can make it in that we have reached valid is so if we cross the cells limit, the rightmost thing, then yeah, first I think maybe valid 2 will become minus 1, or sometimes both valid 1 and valid 2 will be minus 1, and if valid 1 is minus 1, so we will exit the value. And if we have at least valid 1 as valid, we will come back for the else part, which is John's move. If we have both valid 1 and valid 2, John will pick valid 2. So if valid 2 is greater than 0, it should be greater than or equal to 0, because we start with the 0 is valid. Valid 2 is greater than or equal to 0, we should pick the valid 2. Else, if valid 1 is greater than or equal to 0, we will pick. So if we pick valid 2, we will make valid 2 as red, and there won't be any bot score increment. Since valid 2 is invalid now, so we have to increment 2 to get the next valid cells. So valid 2 plus 1 is anyway invalid now, so valid 2 plus 2 is the new valid. And valid 2 plus. In the other case, there is no valid 2, we are picking valid 1. 1 becomes 1 and plus 2. Now again, for these two cases, we need to cross check the valid 1 and valid 2 whether it has crossed the rightmost. So for that, I can just move this outside if and else, so that it can apply to both bot move and chance. So we check the validity of 1 and 2 for both cases, if and else. I will comment out this for now. because anyway we never check, since we are anyway going from left to right, we don't check the values of the cell, comment it out, and we also need this for this will take care of when n is less than 3, because when n is 1 we have valid 1 0, valid 2 as 1, even though 1 is does not exist. So 0 is more than or equal to, it is not, yeah, it is anyway less than n, which is 1. So that will be 0, valid 1 will be 0, whereas valid 2 is 1, which is equal to n, so that will become minus 1. So valid 1 will be more than 0, so bot move. So we enter with bot move true, score will be 1, then valid 1 will be more than n, so it becomes minus 1 here, and we come back and exit the while loop, and we can print the test score. So this should work for, let's say we will check the for n equals 1 case, it should print 1. Let's build it. Okay, it is, build is failing. Where did I use valid? Editing. It should be 1 plus 1. And the cells in line 40. Okay, we will test case line 53. Okay, I have it should work now. Okay, build successful. Okay, one test case. And we will have n as 1. Output is 1. Okay. And if we go to the second one, which has 3, if it has 3, then we will have 1. Test case, we will have 3 as n, answer is 1. And now we will combine 2 test cases just to make sure the basic template works. We will have 2 test cases. And the first, it is n is 1. Okay, answer is 1. Then n is 3, answer is 1. Okay, we will. Then we have 6. For 6, answer is 2. Test case 6, answer is 1. So our algorithm is not working. One way to debug is you can just print. Let's debug whose move it is next. John finishes his move. We should make bot move. Yeah, no need to. Yeah, before going into debugging more, I may have just printed whose move it is, but I think we haven't changed the status of whose move is next, because now John has made his move, so bot move is the next move. 6 is the n, and answer is 2. Yeah, for 6 use case the answer is 2. So we can, so at least for these 3 cases our code works. And we can run this code. So I'm copy pasting the code, and we'll try to submit it Google. Anyway, we have 50 more minutes at least to try this one. So C++. So, okay, test run mode. So we will try the same test case that is provided as sample. So 3, 1, 3. Run test. So it says test 1 completed. And the output is maybe 1, 1 and 2. That is what the expected sample output. Okay, so I have disabled the test run mode. So I will submit the attempt so that it will run against their all test cases. So here it's showing as attempt 1 pending, submitted at 2:11:51, which is the total time elapsed since the round E started, which has total 3 hours. So we have 47 minutes left. So here it says sample passed, and test set 1 passed, and test set 2 also passed. So I should get all the points, which is 6 points and 11 points. Yeah, this is the test 1 passed, so I should get 6 points, and test 2 passed, I should get 11 points. So this solution should be good for the problem 1. So even though we have 46 minutes more, so I won't be attempting that. Let us see the board. See, people have finished all the 4 problems within 30 minutes. So don't worry about these people. You can at least do on your own pace to understand the problem and try solving. See, as I said, I finished the problem 1, which has 6 and 11 points. So I have solved both. So I got 17 score, and currently I am having 6,897 rank for the round E so far. And this is the code that we just wrote for problem 1, which was about John playing a game with a bot and trying to make sure that the bot scores less. and we try to find what is the maximum score that bot can score. So this was an attempt just to show you how I was thinking in solving this problem. Even though, yeah, it's a very simple problem, I assume that it was at least a bit of helpful in trying to know my thinking process. So if you find this useful, please like, subscribe and share, and thank you for watching.